16th of June today, and I'm going to have to stop on the greenhouse for a little bit because I'm trying to put up the last of these polycarbonates, and it's windy out here, and you might even hear some wind on the camera in a little bit. At the moment it seems to be a little calm here, but you can't really put these up when it's windy, so I'm going to be doing something else inside that might be interesting. Yeah, from up here you can see my little windmill just turning away, and look out there on the fields out there. You can see it's moving across the grain there like kind of like waves on water. It's windy, and it's forecast to be that way for a couple of days, I think, and then the wind should die down and I can get back to putting the roof on this. In the meantime, let's go in here in my south patio deck, and I'm going to put up an automatic watering system. Okay, what I've got here, as you can see, I've got some things growing in these planters, and they're growing quite well. And the problem is, you can see there's some onions right here, well, they're chives actually. Got me a tomato plant right there, and then there's some more over there, right here. Some tomatoes that I'm gonna have to thin out pretty soon, and there's some growing really good. And I've got a few things over here by the window. Now the problem is, I have to water these more and more, and I water them with this little watering can. And it's really a pain because I have to do it twice a day now. And twice a day might not seem like much, but you see, you have a little time here, and a little time there, and I've got a greenhouse out there, and I've got some other things. You want to automate as much as you can because you can't tend everything, otherwise all day long you're going to be tending things. So you want to automate as much as you can. Now I haven't bothered with this yet because I just put this out this year, but you know, you got to fill this up twice a day, and if you had, say, 50 of these, that's all day long. So I don't know about 50, but maybe 10 or 20 of these. So let's automate it. Let me show you a couple things I picked up at the hardware store. Okay, so to automate this, you know, I was over at, I think it was Home Depot, and I was looking for something else, actually, and I saw this stuff. This stuff is 50 feet of soaker hose, and it's a 1/4-inch soaker hose. Never seen this before, but, you know, I've got some systems where I've got drip irrigation running, and, you know, they all run off of 1/4-inch hose. So I thought, you know, you can set up a drip irrigation system, but use this soaker hose instead of a sprayer or a nozzle or something like that. This stuff wasn't bad. There's 50 feet of this, and it was not marked, but as I remember, it was something like $6 or $7. Now, so there's the soaker hose. I'm going to cut pieces of this soaker hose and put them in each of these planters, you know, kind of lay them out here, and maybe put 2 across there. So that's what I'm going to do. Now, so that immediately brings the question, well, what are you going to hook the soaker hose to? You need some kind of a header. And so I'm going to run a header across that wall and hold it up. And what's the header going to be? It's this stuff. It's, again, this is 50 feet of 1/2-inch poly tubing for use in the installation of a drip irrigation system. Now the reason this works so well is because there's a lot of tools out there that work with this. Now this stuff is pretty thin walled. Let me see if I can find a cut piece of it that I just, yeah, here we go. Here's a cut piece of it. As you can see, it's really thin walled, it's easy to work with. You can buy these little tools. What you can do is you can punch a hole in this, and then you can insert this kind of stuff into it, you know, and these are connectors that are designed, you know, on one end you punch a hole. Let me pull one out of here. Here's one right here. Here's one right here that's hooked up. See, this is a 1/4-inch tubing, and let's see, this has been in there a while. I took this off an old project. But see, the idea is you can buy these kind of fittings, and you know, one end goes, of course, into the 1/4-inch tubing, and the other end, you can punch a hole in here, and you can actually slip it right in here, and right into this without a leak or anything. Let me show you one of those. Here's another piece of hose that I've got, and you can see there they are. Let's see if I can get this out. There, you can see you can just punch the holes in there quite easily with a little tool. I don't have one handy. So then what you do is, you know, you plug that in, and then of course you put your hose on there, and then this goes to the soaker hose. And there's another fitting. Well, you can put another fitting on here. Now the idea is I can make a header out of this stuff. So then you say, well, okay, now you got a header. What are you going to do? So what? Where's the water going to come from? Now, here's where the water's going to come from. Bought one of these totes. Now these are like, I can't remember, 8 or 10 bucks, 12 bucks, and these are pretty tough. You know, they're pretty well, they're pretty rugged. And you can see in the bottom there's a little bit of mold, not mold, but what do you call that? Moss. Yeah, some kind of moss down there. I've used this before on another project and taken it down, so there's a little bit of residue in here. But you can see I use it kind of like this. And there's a pump that goes down in there and it recirculates up into these kind of things. But anyway, so you get a pump, and here's where you get the pump. You get these pumps, and they're made for outdoor ponds. Now this is one I have removed from service, and it's been running for a couple of years, and it still runs. You know, these things run forever. And this thing will take a 1/2-inch piece of tubing like this, same kind of tubing, and if you put a little clamp on it, it'll hold really good. Now these pumps, I don't know, this is a good-sized one. You know, they measure them by, it'll pump 3 feet, 4 feet, 6 feet, and then also they have, you know, how much it'll pump. Now this one here is, I think, you can get a smaller one than this, but this is the next smaller one that you can get, and this is plenty good for what I'm going to use. And these things cost, this one here I think costs 15 or 20 bucks. So this is a little pricey for the, you know, the whole thing. But the idea is you put that down in that sump tank I just showed you, and then you hook this up to the header, and then there's your water. Now, remember I said we're going to want to automate this. So how do you automate that? Don't you have to come out and turn the darn thing on all the time and turn it off? No, you don't. You can buy these. Now there's a lot of these. And what is this? This is a timer. And what you do is you plug this into the wall, and then you got connectors on the outside, and basically you can set this timer by, I don't know if you can see, this little wheel here. See these little, you can see this little up and down, up and down. I can't remember which is which, but one is up and one is down, and this one will you can control it in increments of like a couple of minutes, I think, something like that. So, and these aren't very pricey. I can't remember. I think I've got this at Harbor Freight or something, and I've used this for a long time. It works pretty well. It's kind of coarse control, but you know, if you need something, you turn on for 2 minutes, and then turn it off, and turn it on, and turn it on, something like that. This works great. Now, what if you want finer control than that? You can buy something like this. Now this is a little more pricey. I don't know if you can see it. It's got some batteries in it. But you can still see it's displaying a number in there. I've unplugged this. This was in my greenhouse that I'm rebuilding right now. And this controlled all the watering. And what I did was, now this is a little difficult, well, it's a little not straightforward to program because you can see all these buttons. There's no, you know, on-off easy button thing on it. But what you do is you program it, and you can program this thing to come on at any time of the day, exactly, you know, like 1:05 p.m. or something like that. And I think this will control it down to the minute. So you can have it run 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and stop. And then you can later on during the day decide, well, I think, you know, let's say you have it running at 9 o'clock in the morning for 1 minute to water whatever you're watering. Well, you can program it to do that, and then again at, you know, 5 o'clock it'd do the same thing, or water longer or shorter. These are very versatile. You can have them to go off and on, you know, a whole lot of times during the day or just once. And also, these things come with them the ability to program like a week's worth. In other words, if you want to water a lot on Monday but not a lot on Tuesday, you know, you can set it up with one of these. These are pretty versatile, and this one's still working, like I say, and it's been unplugged for about 6 months now since rebuilding that greenhouse. And I'm going to put this back in the new greenhouse to control watering the whole darn thing, and maybe get another one of these. Now there's another one that you can get that's even, these are probably both the same. These are about the simplest ones you can get. Now this will control it, you can see these got the same thing with the buttons out and in, but these things are more like, I don't know, probably 5-10 minutes, 10-minute intervals, 5-minute intervals, something like that. So these will turn something on for 5 minutes and off for, you know, whatever, or whatever you want to set up, but only for 5 or 10 minutes, and they just run daily. You can't go week, you know, change it for one day of the week or something like that. And there's another one right here, and this one, same deal, and it looks like this one here. You can see these buttons. See, there's 7, 6, and if you look at this, between 6 and 7, there's 2, maybe 3 buttons. So you can see this goes on or off for 15-20 minutes, or, you know, or something like that. But these things only cost about $8 or $10. These are pretty cheap. One like that. So you can get these. These are pretty cheap, and they work quite well. So what you do is you hook that timer up to the pump, and you know, just turn it on for whatever it takes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, and see what it takes to keep that thing watered. And that's what we're going to do today. So let me show you how we're going to do that.